Really bad news for anyone in the EU with money in a bank outside the EU or even just planning to open one. And most people have no idea this is already happening. There's a new EU banking rule called CRD6, and buried inside it is a provision that shuts off something people have relied on for years. Opening a personal account with a bank outside the EU remotely without that bank having any branch inside Europe. The dates are what actually matter here. From January 11th, 2027, a bank outside the EU generally can't take on new EU clients for deposit accounts unless it has a licensed branch inside Europe. But the date that matters right now is July 11th, 2026, the cutoff for grandfathering protection on existing accounts. And that date has already passed. If you open a new account with a foreign bank today, it gets none of that protection. It's not illegal, but it has zero safety net if that bank decides serving EU clients isn't worth the hassle. And banks are already closing accounts ahead of the deadline just to reduce their own risk. Officially, this is about financial stability, closing a gap that opened up after London left the EU system. That's a stated reason, and it's not unreasonable on its own. But look at the pattern. Capital controls have been tightening for years. Reporting requirements keep expanding, and now the door is quietly closing on holding money outside the EU system entirely. Unless a bank sets up a branch inside it first. It gets harder every year to read this, as anything other than the EU, making it more difficult for capital and the people attached to it to leave. There's an exemption called reverse solicitation, where you approach the bank entirely on your own initiative. It's drafted narrowly though, and I wouldn't build a plan around it holding up long term. This whole rule is built around your residence, not your passport, which means the same situation that creates a problem is also what gets you out of it. If your actual tax residence sits outside the EU, properly established, not just a mailing address, this restriction was never written with you in mind in the first place.